Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
When I look back at the 2011 Thor film, I look back at it with a fondness that I don't quite have for the sequels. What the original Thor does well is that it not only has a very good villain, but it also has some eye-popping moments, as well as making all the characters feel necessary. Even with characters like Darcy and Selvig from Earth, they still all had a part to play in the story, even if Darcy had a series of unfunny lines at times. Point is, Thor had an even balance. Thor felt like the start of something that could be epic. Thor, the Dark World's biggest mistakes consist of having a villain nobody can name, remember, or be persuaded to care about, something which I'm certain Christopher Eccleston regrets doing, and also making the movie primarily centered around Jane. Chris Hemsworth's chemistry with Natalie Portman was relatively non-existent as it is, and so to make the film revolve mostly around her was a mistake. And going back to the villain Malekith, it simply feels like a wasted opportunity for something that could have been better. By comparison, Malekith's henchman that turned into the fucking rhino-like creature in the middle of the movie, played by the same guy who plays Killer Croc in Suicide Squad, was arguably a better foe than Malekith himself. When looking at Thor Ragnarok, its flaws are so apparent, yet the biggest one is the movie is a non-stop comedic train. To clarify, I never have and never will have a problem with humor. But Thor Ragnarok's humor is way overdone, and even affects characters like Hela in certain moments, and even Hulk, who is seen walking butt-ass naked in the movie. To the argument of, well, Thor was made to be a funny guy, I'd respond, no, not really. Because while Thor cracked a few jokes in the 2011 film, it was never a reoccurring thing. Thor actually knew when to stop the humor and get you invested in the movie. Like when he apologizes to his brother towards the end of the movie on Earth, or when he has an argument with Odin. Moments like that were crucial to the film. So when I look at Ragnarok, I see the Warriors 3 death being quickly glossed over, Odin's death scene being out of nowhere and not emotional at all, and characters that truthfully didn't add much to the film, like Karl Urban's Scourge. I see so much potential wasted for the sake of making the film funny. I see a film that I was excited for, a film that I had been hyping for years, being basically a film for laughs. And it gets old really quickly. Loki's presence was barely felt in the film, and even Valkyrie felt unnecessary. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, Hulk hardly felt ferocious or beastly, but instead was acting like a goof. The stakes are there, the conflict is present. Ragnarok is the end of Asgard as we know it. So why must it be fun? Why is it that the movie's producer was hailing Thor Ragnarok as Thor's Winter Soldier when Captain America the Winter Soldier actually took things seriously, and this film did not? Thor Ragnarok didn't really do anything for Thor besides give him a new haircut, finally show him unleash thunder, and become the new one-eyed Odin. Supporting characters were basically useless, and the film as a whole pales in comparison to the first Thor film. And though Thor the Dark World isn't quite a masterpiece, the chemistry between Chris Hemsworth and Tom Hiddleston was one of the keys of that film, as was Frigga's funeral. And even Thor still felt like Thor. Now, it seems like they want him to be the next Deadpool or some shit. I felt that Thor 1 did a good job of establishing Thor. It did a good job at making him one of the key heroes of the Avengers, and making his brother Loki a key threat for both Thor and the heroes of Earth. And given how deep his mythos is in both comic form and Norse mythology, the potential is certainly there. I mean, loads of potential. So with Ragnarok being the event that it is, it ultimately is highly disappointing that it turned out to be the way that it did. Just like Thor the Dark World with Malekith being wasted, and the film revolving heavily around Jane Foster. Think of it this way. Compare all of the scenes featuring Warriors 3 from both Thor 1 and Thor the Dark World, and compare that to the entirety of their scenes in Thor Ragnarok. I'll wait. And while another defense of most will be, well, Taika Waititi's not a serious director, I point to Marvel's own Anthony and Joe Russo. Look how they were able to make Captain America the Winter Soldier. After years of having made mostly comedies, an apocalyptic event of any size, scale, or any form should be no laughing matter. Shout out to The Walking Dead. So, when I look at Thor Ragnarok and Thor the Dark World, while the scale may be bigger, and while Hela may be hotter, the fondness I have for the original is lesser than to non-existent with both sequels.